My name is Gabriel and I have what they call schizophrenia. Today what I want to talk about is one of the delusions I had in Psychosis. Now, the delusion was pretty trippy, so I had this idea that in ancient Egypt, I had an idea that everything in history repeats itself for infinity. So for eternity, everything just repeats itself. So, for example, in 1,000,000 years, you could be living this life again. And so I came to the conclusion that ancient Egypt was basically ancient Egypt was in the past, but it was also in the future at the same time. So picture time as like a circle. Now, once you reach the end of that circle, you go back to where you started. So I figured that the reason why ancient Egypt was able to talk and predict about certain things that were happening in today's society and how the people thought they were so advanced for predicting it, I figured, what if ancient Egypt was actually like in the future? So 2020 happens, society destroys itself, and then ancient Egypt, or the Egyptians, appeared and time restarts, and then they talk about what happened in 2020. And then 1,000,000 years later, when we reach the end of that circle again, 2020 happens, and we're looking back at what ancient Egypt was talking about prior. So we thought that ancient Egypt was predicting the future, but in reality they were just writing about the past. And then ancient Egypt would happen again because time's going in a circle. So with this delusion, I thought that if I read the hieroglyphics and searched for my name in the hieroglyphics and started to, if I could find any signs of them talking about me, I'd be able to predict my future, because ancient Egypt was in the future, but also in the past at the same time. So it was kind of a mindfuck with this whole delusion. And I literally thought that ancient Egypt was in the past and the future at the same time. So I found this delusion really interesting, and I was searching to see if there was anything about me it would talk about, because I figured if it's in the future, then I can see what's going to be in my future, because they would talk about me and what happened to me. So it was a pretty interesting delusion, and this really, it felt like I was on acid for that whole month. And it was really enlightening, I guess. I felt enlightened, even though it was probably a delusion. But yeah, I just figure that history repeats itself and time's just going in a circle. Like ancient Egypt would be right here, and 2020 would be below that, and then ancient Egypt would happen and right about 2020. And then we'd reach the end of the circle and 2020 would come again, and we'd look back on what ancient Egypt said about 2020. So yeah, the thing with these delusions though is they make so much sense. In a regular mind, it just kind of like, your mind freezes when you think about these things, but when you're in psychosis, this is kind of the stuff that inspires you, and you think that this world is so magic. And you know what? The world is magic, the universe is magic, but maybe this specific, what you would call a delusion, maybe it was just an idea that hit me. And you have so much self-confidence, you have so much confidence in yourself when you're in psychosis, that anything you think of, you're going to be confident that that's the truth. But it was a really interesting experience. However, it led to a huge psychotic episode, and I had to go back on meds. This was a while ago, and here I am talking about it. But yeah, it was a very interesting experience, but it turned into a nightmare pretty quick. Like when I came off my meds, before I came back on them, I would go to sleep and I would sleep with my eyes open, and I would wake up at 4 a.m. and my eyes were staring at, I couldn't tell if I slept or not, because the whole 6 hours that I was sleeping, I was staring at a wall, and that's all I saw for my entire time sleeping. So I was dreaming about my wall pretty much. But yeah, it's a pretty, it's a complex disorder. 1 in 100 people have it, so there's probably someone you know that has it. And it's nothing to be ashamed of or anything like that. It's just how it is. And if you're going through some psychotic episode or you don't know what to believe, just trust me, your brain is playing tricks on you. It might feel super real because that's what it does. You have so much confidence in what you're believing because that's part of being schizophrenic. In psychosis, you have so much confidence in yourself and you don't want to give up the confidence. But if the confidence is going to destroy you, then maybe it's time to realize that it's all a delusion. And maybe not all of it, but for the main part, if you feel like something's not right, that there's some sort of, like if a voice is telling you something and you feel like it's not right, just ignore the voice. Try to get yourself back on meds, and you'll realize after that it was a psychotic episode. You're not, you're not some, yeah, you know what I mean. I've had experiences where I thought the voices were real and what they were telling me was what I thought it was true, but now I realize it wasn't, and it was pretty much like a nightmare when I was experiencing it. But if there's any of you out there that feel like that, just remember it is just your brain playing tricks on you. And a lot of people with schizophrenia find themselves spiritual, and they think they have to be spiritual or schizophrenic, not both. They feel like they can't be spiritual if they admit they have schizophrenia, and that's just not true. In fact, schizophrenia acts as a drive to make you more spiritual. But the problem is sometimes you can't tell what's delusion and what's spiritual. But if something doesn't sound right and it sounds twisted and messed up, then it's probably schizophrenia. It's probably your psychosis, and it's time to get better. But I'm sure there's loads of people out there who need to hear this, and I promise you right now that you will be okay. Yeah. If you have any questions, let me know in the comments, and I'll be sure to answer your questions and help you out. Thank you. My name's Gabriel, and I have what they call schizophrenia.